So now we're going to talk about the data mining process. There are several organizations that have talked about what would be a prescribed way of conducting any kind of data mining project. So this is this idea about the data mining process is really just kind of more of a systematic way to conduct our data mining projects that have been developed through best practices. It's okay that if you might edit your personal process a little bit more, but it's important to know some standards such as the CRISP DM, the SEMMA, or the KDD methodologies, or I should say processes. So the CRISP DM stands for the Cross-Industry Standard Process for Data Mining. It starts with understanding the business problem, then understanding the data, and of course, if there's need, you might actually iterate back to the previous step. But once you understand your data, you now need to prepare it, build your model, perform some testing, and once this is acceptable, you deploy it. Now, if you notice in this particular diagram that there are multiple dashed red arrows that go back to previous steps. And this gives us the notion that this whole process is iterative, meaning if you need to go back and make some changes based on what you find at each step, it is important and imperative that you do so. Another key aspect is the idea that the first 3 steps account for more than 85% of your project time. One of the things that we've learned in this class is that step 1, understanding the business problem and understanding the data, has to do with designing our dimensional model. And then preparing that data so that way it can be put into that dimensional model, or otherwise known as our data warehouse. Building a model and testing usually is done with software that can be done quickly over time. But if your data foundation is incorrect, it's hard to be able to correct that. And that's very clear through this data mining process. Now, another data mining process is defined as SEMMA, which stands for Sample, Explore, Modify, Model, and then Assess. And it's a lot like the CRISP DM, with one exception. We don't have any kind of definition before sampling as far as what is the business problem. So SEMMA might be less accepted in businesses, but it still has the same general processes. What is our data? Let's explore that data and figure out what's right about it. Make our modifications, right? And then once we modify it, usually we store it in a data warehouse. And then we apply our basic statistical models and then assess that model for accuracy. This data mining process is a little bit more scientific and less business focused. Now, the knowledge discovery and databases process I would consider to be more aligned with the business intelligence mindset, where we look at our raw sources of data, extract out that target data, process it, and store it in a new format, such as a data warehouse, that we can use later to extract our patterns. So up till here is our data warehouse. And here is where we apply the data mining principles. And that is where we extract patterns, we do our association analysis, perhaps get some predictions involved, or even better yet, look at some kind of categorization or segmentation. So which data mining is the process is the best? Well, a quick survey from Katie Nuggets shows that CRISP-DM is the best. There are others. We've discussed SEMMA and KDD. However, CRISP-DM seems to be the most relevant, and I would say so from the idea that it has business goals in mind. SEMMA, however, it is a little bit more scientific. It doesn't take into account, or doesn't seem to extract the business focus as much, but it is quite similar, which we've seen in the previous slides. KDD is a little bit more like old school business intelligence, or BI, and that might explain why it's a little bit lower. But regardless of what the actual causes are, we know that CRISP-DM seems to be the most accepted data mining methodology. So in the next video, we'll talk about data mining and looking at classification algorithms.